Hi, this is Robert Kiyosaki, and you're listening to Capital Hacking. This is the most important thing you can listen to today.
He's the one.
I have a dream.
With great power comes great responsibility.
I could do this all day.
This is it. Don't get scared now.
They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom.
Cinderella story out of nowhere.
Did you know that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself?
Capital hacking begins in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the big show. Josh McCown here. So, sometimes you get to have a show like this where it completely expands how your mind works. And we're reintroducing a friend who was on this show a long time ago, maybe 7 years ago. The guy's incredible because he owns a business called Wealth Without Wall Street. His name's Joey. He actually goes by Joey Muré. I'm really a big fan of his thought process and his innovation. I mean, every idea he shares today is a version of capital hacking. I mean, it is truly thinking differently that creates all this new opportunity. And then he goes into the idea of how to create community around these new great innovative strategies, how to get people one step easier to take action. I really couldn't admire a company or a guy more based on today's episode. So I think you're going to dive in. You're going to learn about the biggest possible capital hack if you're a business owner might be life insurance for your people. Never heard that strategy before. Never heard how it could be a win for them and a win for you. You got to hear that one if you own a business. You'll love it. 2, passive income index and the investor DNA. He's going to teach you some of the strategies he's been using for years now to help a lot of people find financial freedom. I can't wait till you listen to this show. By the way, I'm sure you're already ready to do a 5-star. Mention Joey or check out in the links below. He has a direct link for you to get all the content you need. He's going to share it in the episode. Check it out. Later. So Joey, we are excited to have you on the big show. For those who have not yet met you and haven't heard about the movement you and your team have been building, would you share a little bit about your backstory and where you...
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to only tell you the things that are important to the person listening, because I hate when people talk about, well, I was born here, my mom and them, they did Here's the reality, Josh. I was just like everybody else. I was the one that bought the whole line that like, hey, go to school, get a good job, make sure that you kind of rise through the ranks, the whole corporate ladder strategy. And I looked up in my late 20s and making over $300,000 a year.
Good for you.
My wife's at home with our 5 daughters. And I realized I'm actually working more than I ever thought I could. And I'm taken further away from the people that I love the most. It was times like being on vacation at the beach.
Yeah.
And literally not being able to get off the phone to actually spend the time with the people that I was on vacation with.
Yes, that is it.
And I was like, this thing is broken. Like, more income doesn't equal freedom. What does equal freedom? And I didn't know it at the time, but I went on this journey, and through things like learning about Nelson Nash and infinite banking concept, and then becoming an investor, Russ and I, my business partner, who I'll talk about some today, we basically went from 0 to over $50,000 a month in passive income. And that's where the key lies, is when your passive income exceeds your monthly expenses, you go on vacation for a month and you spend 100% of the time with your family. And that makes all the difference in the world. So that's what we're passionate about at Wealth Without Wall Street, is that transformation. And unfortunately, it's just my story, just replicated hundreds and thousands of times over and over again.
Well, we're going to have to dig in a little more because you just described passive income, and that is maybe connected to the Wealth Without Wall Street UWS movement you built. So can you define why we don't, first of all, we're going to have to learn about what method creates that much passive income. We'll get to that later. But first, let's talk about the fact that Wall Street, you seem to be a little bit against Wall Street or wealth without it. Wall Street doesn't usually have passive income connected to it. You might hit a good, successful stock like Tesla once in a while, but you don't get a paycheck from that or a passive income check. So tell me how this whole movement got started too. And what is it, by the way? What is it?
Hey, everybody, it's Robert Helms, host of the Real Estate Guys radio program. And when you're not listening to our show, make sure you're tuned to Capital Hacking. You're going to dig it.
Well, think about it this way. We're on a journey for freedom. And I think like if you characterize my life, it's centered around freedom. It's freedom spiritually first, right? If you don't have that figured out, none of the other stuff matters. And when I say figured out, it means I was rescued from my sin, right? Through Jesus. And that changes everything. That changes your entire purpose for living. And so, but it also creates freedom. I'm no longer under guilt and shame and all those sort of things. So that's number one. But then on the back side of that is how can I then live free with my time, the places where I want to be, the people I want to be around, and I would say fully live out the calling that you're given. And how does that happen when you have more passive income than you have monthly expenses? And there's no, Wall Street wants you to believe that there's some other idea. They want you to believe that retirement is the answer, right? So just accumulate. And maybe in your 60s, and I say maybe because nobody gives you any guarantees. Nobody gives you any sort of simple formula to get there. It's very complex on purpose, and it's designed to keep your money away from you to get as many fees on it as long as possible. In fact, Josh, I'll tell you, I sat across from a financial planner one time at a bank, and I was just telling him a little bit about what we do. And he was like, and I was explaining the infinite banking concept where you put money into life insurance and generationally it grows and you can use it the whole entire time. And his comment to me was, he was like, oh man, that sounds great. He's like, because then we would be able to hold on to their money for generations. Like we would have access to that money for a long period of time. And I was like blown away because I was like, this is actually the opposite of that. And he was trying to apply it to what his business model is, which is hold on to your money and profit from it, whether it goes up or it goes down, and not to be held accountable for the end result. And so anyways, we can go into a lot more detail, Josh, but we exist to provide freedom, a path, a proven path to freedom for people who are just waking up and saying, wait a minute, something's not right. Like I can't put my thumb on it, but I've been following a path and I'm not going to make it to whatever they told me was the actual plan. I need something different. And that's why we exist.
Yeah. Okay. So without a doubt, the expression freedom does elicit like a whole visceral reaction. We all want freedom. So now we're going to have to go back a little bit. You've thrown out a concept called infinite banking, and you talked about how it's, you barely talked about it. So I think we have to define some terms for our listeners, and then we'll have to ask a few questions about it so that we can dig in on this $51,000 of passive income strategy that you ended up building on top of your strategy. So let's dig in on infinite banking and where, go ahead and tell us what that is.
Well, I'll tell you this. If you want to learn all about this, you need to read the book that began the whole thing. It's my personal mentor, Nelson Nash. He lived here in Birmingham, Alabama.
Really?
And so we spent time, we had a cheeseburger down the street from my office on a regular basis for the last decade before he died. But the book is Become Your Own Banker. And in the book, what Nelson uncovered and discovered is that there's actually a way that you can take control of your finances, as opposed to the Wall Street mindset that says, hey, just give up access to your money for the next 40 years and hope for the best. He says, wait a minute, there's a different way. And as you have access to your own capital, you now have to start thinking like a bank. And he's like, well, how do banks do that? How do banks make money? Well, they take money, they leverage it, and they create more money from lending and that whole process, right? And then, but he points something out that I think is absolutely genius. And I recognize this because I worked at Wells Fargo in the mortgage business for 11 years. And when I learned about this, I was there and he pointed out, he says, what do banks do with their money? And I was like, okay, well, wait a minute. So they take depositors' money. That's you and me. We put money on deposit and then they turn around and they lend it to other people, sometimes back to you, right?
Yes, sometimes.
And they make the spread. They make the spread, and that's how they make their money. But if they don't use their money to begin with, they use other people's money, what do they do with their money? And at the time, I went and looked at the balance sheet of Wells Fargo. And there was $11 billion in real estate, which is not a shock. to anybody listening to your show, right? They're like, of course, banks put money into real estate. They have always the nicest locations, the high rises, the marble floors, the whole thing. But you look down that balance sheet, line item 41, it's cash value life insurance. They have $19.3 billion in cash value life insurance, almost double what they put in real estate. And I thought, I'd always heard life insurance was the dumbest thing you could put money in. In fact, I went to the top people at the bank that I worked for. And these are the regional vice presidents, the business banking leader. And I said, hey, this guy's talking about life insurance, kind of thinking I might put some money in it. What do you think? And every one of them, Josh, this is no exception. They all said, Joey, that's dumb. Nobody puts money in life insurance. Why would you do that? And simultaneously, at the exact moment, the bank they work for placed $19.3 billion into life insurance. And even more ironically, they were insured by the bank themselves. Each one of those people I talked to.
I can't wait to understand that better, but I want to let you finish your point because that confuses the bejeebies out of me. Go ahead.
Well, it just goes to show you that, you have to actually do what banks do, not what they say.
Well, can you just teach us while we're on this issue of the vice president, there's probably an insurance policy on that person held by the bank.
100%.
Describe what you're talking about there. How would the bank benefit from putting it on Joe or Billy, the vice president? If he dies, we're going to get money in the bank? Go ahead and tell us why the bank would do that.
There's a slew of reasons, one of which is each life insurance policy can only hold so much because everybody's human life has a certain value that your insurance company maxes out, right? So in order for a bank, first of all, you have to think philosophically. If a bank knows that putting money into life insurance is a good thing, it's a benefit, then they need as many lives as possible to be able to insure. Right? Because there's only so much that they could put on, let's say, the very, very top, owners of the bank. Now they have to go into, our executive team and then this and so. So this is not, you can just believe what I'm saying or you can actually experience it. How many times have you gone into the bank and you're meeting this guy? He's not that sharp, but he has a VP on his deal, like VP of fill in the blank or whatever. And you're like, and any other business I go into, this guy's not a VP. He's just not that sharp, but he happens to be. And one of the key reasons is because in order to insure someone's life, they have to be a key employee. Well, what makes a key employee? A lot of times the title, right? Well, it's not shocking that the bank inflates titles for people so that they can get insurance on them. So one, philosophically, they believe it's a good place to park cash, which gives us, and here's the reason that they do that is they're trying to create safety and guarantees in their portfolio, which life insurance has been around for over 200 years, and it is considered one of their tier one assets. The most critical place that they have to put money because it gives them guarantees, it gives them safety, it gives them liquidity, like access to the funds as it's growing.
Let's do an example for a second on that gentleman who's the VP. Let's assume they bought $500,000 to $1 million worth of cash value, probably just $500,000, maybe $500,000 of cash value on Bill, the VP. That means they're writing substantial premium checks. They're maybe accelerating that. We're going to get into that in a minute. And Bill works there. Now, Bill probably works there for 10 years, but Bill leaves. It's the 9th year now, and next year Bill decides to leave. What happens to all that money they put into Bill's policy? Is Bill even the beneficiary, or is the bank the beneficiary?
Great questions and great points to make. So here's what's actually happening. The bank doesn't come out and say, hey, Bill, we want to buy a bunch of life insurance on you. The bank says, hey, we'd like to do a deferred compensation plan with you. We'd like to create a bonus plan for you. We'd like to fill in the blank. It's something to benefit Bill, right? It just happens that as a part of that is we need to also have a key man employee or key employee policy on your life. And by the way, it can actually come as a split arrangement, meaning we would get death benefit if something happened to you, but also they could even agree to give a portion of that to the insured's family, right? So it's an additional benefit. We actually call this like the dual executive reward plan, which you can actually mimic on your employees. So if you have a business We actually have, I don't know how many now. I think we have about 8 policies ourselves on people that we've invested with.
Wow. I like that.
And it's
That's
all
pretty
because
cool.
of the same strategy, right? So mimicking the bank, you can do this. But the whole point is now they're putting premium dollars away. They're the owner of the policy, the bank, and the beneficiary, unless they give a portion to the family, right?
Yep.
In year 9, there's an accumulated value of cash value that's happened in that. They could have accessed it the entire time for whatever purpose that they need, liquidity.
Okay.
And he leaves before the bonus period is up. They could have chosen to give him a prorated portion of that, or they could have just said, hey, it's an all or nothing kind of loyalty deal. And by the way, because they're the owner, they continue to own the cash value from that point forward. So the fact is, they could have actually had this policy, even though the employees left 10, 20 years ago.
So Bill's gone. It's now the year 2035. He's been gone for 9 years already, or whatever. He dies. But for those years, they didn't have to pay the premium, did they, Joey? Because they already had the self-generated premium being paid, I imagine.
Well, it's their choice. The mechanics of the policy allow them a lot of options. They could have ceased to pay premiums, or they could have continued because they want a place to continue to put cash. And so like, for instance, as it relates to me, I may have an employee that's left and I want to continue to put money into that policy because it's still a better place for me to put it than in a traditional bank.
Okay.
And there's a lot of reasons why, but just know that I actually am motivated to put money into that. But there are options, and the bank has those, to your point.
All right. And when you do this, Mr. Joey, one of the owners of Wealth Without Wall Street, and the teammates that you have done this with, why don't we dig into how you designed it to be beneficial to them and to you a little bit? So, and of course, you would have had to use after-tax dollars, correct? So
Correct.
It's not like paying for their health insurance. It's not tax incentivized upfront.
No, that's right. In fact, because the alternative would be true. If I did take it as a write-off, which I have the choice to, then the death benefit would be taxable, which is far greater than what the amount I'm putting in. So you would kind of, it's either or, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so I would much rather take tax, pay the tax today and have tax-free death benefit in the future.
Hi, this is Melanie McCallan. Josh and I are just so grateful for the many investors who have already joined us at Accountable Equity. Accountable Equity is so much more than a capital group. It's really a community of accredited investors that want to learn and grow together. I just want to personally invite you, if you want to find out more about this type of investment and see if it's right for you and your family, please visit us at accountableequity.com.
Hey, it's Hal Elrod, author of The Miracle Morning, and you're listening to Capital Hacking. Enjoy.
So if I worked with you, Joey, and I was one of these good people that got this offer, they probably like it. I mean, it seems like a great investment in a teammate. So how did you design it, if you could share?
Well, think about compared to what, Josh? Because every deal, every opportunity has to be compared to something else.
That's right. Law of contracts.
Well, what do most employers provide? They provide a 401k. And it's based off of you putting your own dollar into it so that then you get a quote unquote match, right? Well, the whole idea was designed to create loyalty, right? So, hey, because you come to work for me, I provide this benefit. You're not going to want to leave. But what's the reality of the 401k plan? I mean, how many times did you leave a business and you took your 401k with you, right?
Yes, you do.
It was a portable deal, and you could transfer it to the next employer.
That's right.
Well, it doesn't create loyalty after all. And it doesn't actually benefit the employer because they've had to put money in as you did as the employee, and neither one of you actually has access to it. Think about it. That's a Wall Street
That's exactly
game.
Right. That's right.
There.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, it's age restricted and all kinds of things. Yes.
All sort of stuff. And there's penalties and everything else. But now think about the alternative. Hey, John, are you going to come work for me? Instead of the 401k, we actually do a 10-year loyalty plan. And for 10 years, we're going to be contributing to a bonus plan. And at the end of the 10 years, we're going to give you a lump sum payment out for whatever the number is. It would kind of depend on the person's level, right? So if they're an executive in our business and they're making $250K, they might have a bonus in 10 years. It might be $500,000, right? Hey, we're going to give you an additional $500,000 if you stay with us for the next 10 years. But you don't have to contribute $1. We're going to do it on your behalf. And by the way, what would that $500,000 do for you and your family? Man, well, in 10 years, that's going to be right around the time that my kid's going to college, or right around the time that I could buy that second home, or whatever the case is. Now they can attach their loyalty to an outcome that they wouldn't have been able to do without you.
Mm-hmm.
True? I mean, so that's already a massive upside
No, it does seem
to the
very
401k.
appealing.
So
Definitely.
anyways, all that being said, we're going to do that. And in 10 years, we're going to pay that out gladly because, one, the cost of transferring or finding new talent is super expensive for a business, as you know. And so, but at the same time, over the course of those 10 years, if I'm contributing what I'm contributing to have $500,000 in 10 years, that's a substantial amount of capital, but I have access to it the entire time to grow the business.
Yes, right. You could pull a loan back against it to put back in during shortfall times.
At any time. And so if I could, over the next 10 years, double or triple the business, $500,000 is going to feel like nothing. And I'm not liquidity restricted. I'm actually just putting more money into
Yeah, no,
into
it's
use.
very appealing. And I imagine you teach this to other
We do.
business owners. And the only challenge I think might happen is, let's just say his name's John in this case. John may say, I love that loyalty plan, but I also want a big bonus every year. So does it almost feel like you're double dipping for John if you're giving John a bonus check every year, plus you're contributing to the long-term hold?
It all depends, obviously, as you know, on the actual role. If it's a highly incentivized role, then your compensation is going to be, pretty much across the board similar to somewhere else. And if that includes a bonus, then you're going to have that already factored in.
Right.
This is always an additional thing. But to your point, I mean, sometimes this becomes just the cherry on top, but the regular compensation would be the same.
No, it's a very cool strategy. And at the end of the day, when it's 10 years from now, do you believe, is your math in your head saying that there'll be enough cash value in that fund to borrow and give it to him out of that? Is that how?
Yes.
That's how you would make the math work, or you wouldn't offer it, correct?
Exactly. And it's not limited to just this one policy where I can pull funds from to pay that out.
That's a good point.
It could be from any number of places.
All 10 of them, yeah.
The bonus agreement and the insurance policy are totally separate, but we would use it to fund,
So when
based on
someone
our-
joins your Wealth Without Wall Street community, first of all, what's the structure financially? What does someone need to commit to you to join that community? How much does it cost?
So number one, we have a free option, right? So our online community, you can join our app. It's totally free. And you're getting access to webinars, to different downloads and courses that we've created, and just actual community, asking questions, being able to message and DM each other and things like that. So that's really cool. But for people that want to take action, we have really 2 steps. And the first step is what we call the passive income operating system, which is getting your cash flow to match your outcome. Okay. Because think about it. Up to this point, we were talking about Wall Street, and Wall Street has one strategy, right? The strategy is retirement. And it's, hey, accumulate. So your money may have been going into different places based on that outcome. And then people say, wait a minute, I really like this idea of financial freedom today because I'm 35 and I can see my kids growing up and they're actually not getting more time with me. They're getting less time with me. I'm actually not showing up the way that I really want to in my family or in my community. And I'm not going to get there by keeping on doing the same thing. And so, or maybe somebody wakes up and Josh, I don't know about you, but our parents are aging and maybe you've seen the next generation work their entire lives and they get to retirement and now they have no health like I do.
Right.
Like literally my mom is every week going to doctor's appointments all week long. And it's because she has massive issues with her back and her health is depleting. So is she traveling the world like she had hoped? Is she investing in the people around her? No, she's really just trying to survive. And she's quote unquote retired. So would she trade being more present when I was a kid versus today? Every time. And that's what we're calling people to do. So people that want to change the way that their outcome looks, they're going to have to change the way their cash flow works.
That's
and
right.
so we have a coach that meets with them. They go through 4 to 6 weeks. Through that process, they are setting up the infinite banking concept because that's the new place that money resides before
Right.
it goes to work. And again, we teach around this and we help them the whole time. The second step is once they've got that whole cash flow system set up, the second question becomes, how do I put it to work? And so we built the Passive Income Lab where they pay to be a part of a 12-week cohort. It's 10 people. And we call it the lab because this is hands-on. They're literally calling guys like you, Josh, and saying, hey, I've been trained to start asking operators these sort of questions. Do you fit my buy box that I've created in advance? I've actually gone and done my investor DNA. I've figured out what sort of investments line up with my personality. Right. And then they say, hey, Josh, tell me the time that you lost money. How did you handle it? Tell me when does cash flow start on this investment, or is this more of an equity deal? They start asking questions.
Great questions. Yeah.
Because they've been trained and they're being held accountable to come back next week and say, hey, how many deals did you look at and what was the result? So the point is we're affecting people to get their cash flow right, to then become investors, because the fact is most people have shut that part of their brain off because Wall Street was handling all their investing. And now they have to become an investor, and it just takes hands-on reps and training to do that.
You know what? I'm sure it's in your system, but you haven't talked much about tax and people that are high earners. I imagine a lot of your clients are high earners, or are they business owners? 50-50, 30-30.
You know,
60,
I don't know the
70.
exact, Josh, but I would say it's probably a 50-50 is what we see. And some of them are actually already basic investors, but one of the craziest places to be is to be an investor that has made money on deals, but they don't know how, right? That's a really scary place to be, because you're like, hey, I'm at the roulette table and I've won, but I'm not so certain about the next one. If you can build that kind of confidence, that's what we're after, right? Why did this work? Why wouldn't this work? And be 100% like, hey, I'm feel really good about the next one. But I don't feel like I answer your question fully.
Oh, tax. A lot of times those programs like your lab program talk about sophisticated tax to make sure we don't have all this leakage of tax bills that could have wealth creation modalities.
Hey guys, it's John Vroman, founder of Front Row Dads, and you're listening to Capital Hacking, the best investment you'll make today.
So I would say that, one, we don't pretend to be tax advisors or tax experts. We do, as a part of, we have this thing we call the 5 pillars and the right next thing grid. And as a part of that grid is you got to have a tax strategist.
Yes, you do.
And we're bringing people to the awareness of that, because sometimes we've relied on an accountant to be our strategist, and they're really 2 different roles. One's more of a reporter of the past.
Correct.
One is looking out the front windshield and saying, hey, you might want to change this, this, and this, because that's going to reduce this. We would not be the ones directly to do that for you, but we would always encourage you and maybe even provide several people, that are those kind of professionals, so we could say, hey, you might want to talk to these guys.
And what does it cost to join your lab?
So the lab is currently $7,500 for 12 weeks. It's probably going to go up because this has only been about 18 months and we've seen such a huge demand, but that's what it is currently.
No, it's nice. And overall, your community is how many people, or how do you keep track of that? What does it look like?
So just the free community, there's over 10,000 currently that have joined. And then it's people that have gone through each step, obviously is less than that, but the free community is over 10,000.
No, and you've been doing your podcast for a long time, and
almost 10 years.
Very proud of that. It's a great
lots of
show.
Words, man. Lots of words.
Lots of words out there. Well, as I wrap up here, our show is Capital Hacking. We want to teach efficient ways using our human capital to attract more financial capital. And I wanted to ask you, what is one, no matter where we're on our journey right this minute, are we an active investor? Are we someone who's on the sidelines? Are we an active business owner? Or are we a high net worth, high income earner? What's one way we could maybe take a step to improve our financial position, our capital position?
So practically something that we can do to
Yes.
improve the money that we have or access to it.
Yes.
So we're going to be very contrarian to a lot of people. And the first things I would say is quit. Again, you have to be bought into the idea that I just mentioned before. We want financial freedom today for any of this to be like cogent. I don't want to mislead you otherwise. But I just had a YouTube video that came out that says, stop funding your 401k. Just stop it. Like, there's lots of reasons why, but if you want freedom today, it is literally keeping you further from financial freedom. All the reasons that we talked about before and still then some, not to mention the tax calculation, right? You've been told that it's a benefit to put money into 401k because you're going to be in a lower tax bracket when you retire. And the reality is not one person can guarantee you that that's true. The people giving you the advice, nobody can do it because the tax calculation is not going to happen until you're 65.
That's right. And who wants to be in a desperate situation when they're 65? Like, the whole dream is that you retire with abundance. So It is always, now that does beg the question of other people on the show that are super big fans of Roth, because at least they say you can control that or at least know the outcome. But do you agree that that's a slightly better way, or do you not even like the Roth IRA?
Well, here's my question to that person. Who makes the rules on whether that continues to be tax-free or not?
The government.
Are you okay to be partners with them? I'm just saying, are they trustworthy? And have they ever brought up the idea that they could potentially tax a Roth? The answer is yes, they have. That's actually came up. The one that I know of immediately came up during the Obama administration. It was literally a point of conversation. And does that mean that it will ever happen? I don't know. But the fact that your partner is the government and that they have the ability to change the rule today and it affects your account you've been building for 20 plus years, I'm not playing that game with them. It's just not worth the risk, in my opinion. Why would you, when I could dictate through a life insurance contract that it's never going to be taxed because it's only going to be it's based off of contract law.
Well, that's a good point. It is based off a different strategy. You're absolutely right.
Versus the tax code.
Yeah,
the tax code can change like that immediately.
And it does every few years these days.
So anyways,
Joey,
that's my personal take. And, you can throw stones at me, but that's how I'm thinking.
One of my favorite calls to action today is we need to get a link to the YouTube show you did. You said the video was Stop Funding Your 401k, and we got to have at least people be open-minded enough to check it out. And then throw stones at you online. No, they may love it, though. So I think that's a great call to action. Joey, final thoughts, or how can people reach out to you?
I'll just say this, man. You don't have to do what I've done, but if you want a different outcome, you have to do something different than what you're currently doing. It's just crazy to think that I'm going to keep doing what I've been doing and expect a different outcome. And so if you don't do what we're talking about, do something to get your freedom back today. Like, buy back your time, because time is so precious. I have 5 daughters. I think I told you that. And the older 2 are both out of the house now. I'm literally dropping off my 18-year-old
That's right.
at the airport on Saturday to go to the Dominican Republic for 4 months. She's going to do like a missions and college kind of hybrid course. And I'm thinking back and I'm like, I don't regret any of the time that we spent together, but I would have regretted, let's just say it that way, had I continued on the path I was when I said I was in my late 20s and I couldn't spend any time with them. Instead, her life has been, we have spent so much time together, and I'm joyful taking her to, the airport, and still also sad that those times are over, right? So think through those things. And if you want to take action, I'm going to give you a specific link here. Go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/capital-hacking. So remembering the name of the podcast, wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/capital-hacking. All of our contact info's there, YouTube, all the stuff that we talked about, and some free downloads and things like that. So happy to connect with you there.
Well, then that's where we'll send everybody for that video too. If you can put it there, that'd be fun, or at least a link to it from there. That'd be great.
Absolutely.
Man, it's a pleasure. Can't wait to have you on again in the future. Thanks for all your great sharing. And next time we'll dig in on how you built so much passive income right away. I loved that, but we didn't get there today. We'll come back to it. Thanks so much, Joey.
All right, man. My pleasure.
You did it. You made it to the end of the show. Thank you so much. Listen, I've been listening to podcasts for years and years now, thousands, and I know that I loved the episode if I made it till the end. So thank you for doing that on our podcast. Hey, would you like to join the club? Just feel great about the Capital Hacking Tribe. Feel free to post a 5-star review anywhere you want or leave a comment on YouTube below the video. We appreciate you. We want to serve you more. Reach out to me directly anytime you want. I'm on LinkedIn. That's probably the fastest way to reach me. Facebook, grab me. Let me know what more I can do for you in the show. And hopefully, let's meet up at one of the resorts. Thanks again for being part of the community.